Okay, there we go. It's live. All right.
It's now started.
How do I invite? Okay, there should be an invite more people button somewhere, Mark. At the top.
Group chat.
No, not group chat.
Screen share, spotlight, showcase, Q&A.
No, very top.
Control room. And boy, I don't see anywhere to invite more people. Here's an event page.
Where's that?
Down at the bottom, it says links. So I click on that and I get the event page.
Can you send me that link?
Well, I need to send it to the rest of the world, but
I just want to make sure it's the right one. But yeah, you can send it. Let's make sure it's right.
I got to open this back up again.
Hey, Joe.
Fuck.
Can I get your help? Can you bring your computer over here? Can you grab your computer?
Yeah.
Thanks. I just need you to hang out.
Am I staying in here?
Just for a sec.
Okay. You guys are gonna crush it.
Well, if we get it to work, we will.
Oh yeah. It's always the technical hiccups right before.
Right.
Otherwise it wouldn't be fun, guys.
Man, wouldn't let me copy it. Jesus. Let me go back and see if I can copy it.
Anything specific you need me to?
God. The hell? All right. Hey, I just sent it to you.
Sent to me? Link?
Sent it. Yep. You got it?
All right. Mark, did you send me a link
Yeah, I did.
via email?
Yep.
There we go. Joe, can you click on, I'm going to chat this to you. Can you click this and tell me what happens? Here. Click that link for me. Oh, it's me. Click that guy.
So you're gonna update this?
All right.
There we are.
All right, Mark, I think that's a live link, but for some reason,
So slow.
is it bad?
This connection.
Can you turn it up? Or can you go over there and tell me if it's working? Now, you can't see Mark, though.
No, I have no option to see anybody. It's really lagging. Like I haven't even gone up yet.
Oh, you won't get up. You won't get up.
No, I just left
Mm.
on the video. It's about 5 seconds behind at least.
You still there, Mark?
Yep.
YouTube Live.
Does it take you there?
Yeah, but you're not in it.
I'm not in it. What do you mean?
I can go back the last 5 minutes and look and see your conversation.
You don't see me.
Now I see you. Now
Okay.
he's there.
All right. I'm on another. Hang on. I have to get this email out to people to know that it's the wrong. You're on the wrong thing.
All right, sounds good.
Damn it. Damn it. I can't find now even the God, tags. Oh, interest. God, tags.
So I can go back. So like everything's being recorded right now.
Okay, come on, sucker, go. Go, 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 go. All right, am I back?
I think so.
Am I sharing my screen?
Let's see. Nope.
Wow. Okay, well. So you're not seeing me? What? You're not seeing my, you see my presentation?
Not yet, no.
No, okay. How about now? What do you see?
I see your living room.
What?
I see your kitchen.
All right, well, it won't let me share the screen. Okay, let's go back here. See what I'm doing wrong there. Okay. Stop broadcast live. 2 viewers. Screen share, desktop. Start screen share. There goes the weird thing, so it's probably working. How's that?
Yep.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you by chance see in the bottom right, it says number of viewers?
I can't.
Okay. So am I going to be able to, well, I should be able to turn this over to you. Okay. All right. Just going to look real quick here. We got 3 viewers. Okay. 2 viewers. Hello, if you're online waiting for our webinar to start, we're going to give it a couple of minutes. We had a technical issue with the link that we sent people, so we're waiting for people to get the email that it's a different link. I just had somebody email me that they can't find, we're not there. Hey, Zach?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So I suggest that it's 12:05. I think we'll wait about 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Should be recorded on YouTube, and then we can share that with anybody that missed it.
Sounds good.
Okay. If you just joined us, we're waiting. We're going to wait a couple minutes till other people can join us. We had a little technical issue with Google Hangouts. We had to change the link. Hey, Zach, is your phone on vibrate?
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, let's get started. Once again, I'm sorry for the mix-up there. The original link that we got from Google Hangouts didn't seem to want to work, so we had to start another one. And those of you who are on obviously got it, and I apologize for the people who are probably going to be clicking in as we're moving forward. This will be recorded on YouTube, and we're going to be sending everybody out a link so that you can watch it again if you want, or share it with other people. So I'd like to, of course, welcome you to our webinar on building materials websites. This is Mark Mitchell. I'm a sales and growth consultant for the building materials industry. I specialize in finding the blind spots that enable building material companies to grow their sales and retain their customers. And one of the blind spots that I frequently find is their website could be a lot better. So that's why I wanted to share that today. My mission in working with building material companies to help them become the preferred supplier of their customers and to turn those customers into their best salespeople. Meaning, first of all, to get contractors, architects, builders, for example, to want to use your product, and then to have them recommend it to their customers so they become your best salespeople. I'm the author of the book, Building Materials Channel Marketing, and the co-author of a new book, How to Become a Building Industry Sales Rainmaker, that I co-authored with Carlos Quintero, building material sales expert that I met last year. Carlos found me and we had a meeting together, and I was really impressed with his knowledge of the building materials industry and his experience in working with building material companies to help them specifically improve become better salespeople. with his understanding also of the industry. And so the two of us decided to take our knowledge and co-author a book, How to Become a Building Industry Sales Rainmaker. That book will be, the printer told us he's starting to ship it next Wednesday, I think. And so you should be available online probably by the end of the month. So that will, so hopefully that's going to be another popular book with people. And Carlos and I, as a matter of fact, are going to do another webinar. I'm trying to do a monthly webinar now that they seem to be so popular. So next Wednesday, February 10th at 2 o'clock Eastern, Carlos and I will be doing a 1-hour webinar about how to become a building industry sales rainmaker, where we'll be taking you through, I'll call it a top line approach to give you an idea of what are probably the biggest, in my opinion, mistakes that I see building materials salespeople make, based on what I consistently hear from customers. Particularly builders will say that 50% of the time the building material salespeople who call on them, whether it's from a manufacturer or a dealer or contractor, they're unprepared. And it's primarily because they don't understand, we'll say, the builder or architect's business. They understand their product usually pretty well, and maybe they've even been trained to be a great salesperson, but what they haven't been trained is to how become a trusted advisor of their customer. And Carlos and I are going to go through that on Wednesday, February 10th. And I hope you will join us and pass this along to anybody else in your organization who is interested in sales. At our last month's webinar on how to sell home builders, we had 245 people, and a number of them emailed me afterwards that they turned this into a mini sales meeting, in which one company had, I think, 20 different salespeople all online at the same time listening to it, and then they continued the discussion afterwards about how they could apply that to their particular company with their particular customers. So I hope that you will join us. There's a link there at the bottom. I'll also be emailing everyone about this. I also host an annual 2-day event in Boulder for building material sales and marketing executives who want to learn how to grow their sales faster, which we take apart the market and we spend time on the builder, how to approach a builder, what's going on in the builder's mind, how to be successful with them, the contractor, the architect, the big box distributor, whoever you happen to call on, we cover all of those. And then I have, I think, 7 guest speakers this year that are each experts in their particular field to help you both improve your sales and your marketing. And you'll leave there with some definite actionable strategies that you can go back the next day and apply to your business to start improving your sales. I'll also be sending you an email about this, or you can go to the website, seethewizard.com/summit in order to learn more about it. I hope I will see you there. My guest presenter today is Zach Williams, who's the founder of Venveo, who's a building materials digital marketing agency. Zach and I met, I think, at the Remodeler Show about 3 years ago, and I was just impressed with his knowledge of digital marketing, we'll say websites and marketing automation and content marketing and SEO and all those things. And I was impressed with his observations about the industry. And so we have had an ongoing relationship since then, in which every time I start working with a new client, one of the things I do is engage Zach to audit their online efforts as well as the online efforts of their competitors. And it's part of my recommendation back to clients. So I really have enjoyed working with Zach, and I think you will enjoy what he has to share with you. On the webinar today, we have people from not only the United States and Canada, but we also have people from Greece and Singapore and Australia. So I don't know what time in the morning, if somebody's sitting in their couch in their pajamas tuned in. We also have building material manufacturers of all sizes, small, medium, and large, including 3 of the largest building material companies in the industry. And we have some dealers, some distributors, some independent sales reps, as well as some advertising agencies and web development firms. So I'm glad we have such a well-rounded group of people, and hopefully we'll have something for each of you to take away from this that you can start to apply today. I try to always keep these to 60 minutes to make it easy for you to get in and get out. It also forces myself and my guest speakers to get right to the point and keep it real straightforward. Our goal is that you leave here with some actionable strategies that you can go start implementing this afternoon, literally, if you want to. This isn't going to be about, okay, you need to redo your total website. Although you can do that, this is even more about take your existing efforts and how can you improve them. Of course, if you are developing a new website, you can certainly apply some of these principles as well. Because of the 60 minutes, we're just going to be talking about websites today. We're not going to be covering subjects like search engine optimization, blogs, social media, e-commerce, email or content marketing, or marketing automation. These are all very important subjects, and we could literally spend an hour on each of these. I intend in future webinars to cover these subjects and to have the appropriate guest speaker with me, who may be Zach or someone else, to help you learn how to improve these areas. Now, before I turn it over to Zach, I'd like to share some observations and recommendations with you that I constantly encounter when I'm working with building material manufacturers. These are things that, 80% of the time I see these things happening. So I want to start out by sharing these with you. The first one is, in our industry overall, I feel like we have too many old white guys. And being an old white guy is an attitude more than it is an age. That this is part of what keeps the building materials industry 10 years behind the rest of the world when it comes to marketing. A person with an old white guy attitude is one of these people that thinks that they know it all based on their past successes. So they think, I know how to call on builders, I know what builders need, or I know how to call on architects, I know what they need. And they come from what worked for them in the past, which might be to walk in on a sales call with a brochure. These people frequently really don't understand how fast your customers are moving online and how much of their life and business life is moving online, and that's where they are living. So the old white guy person tends to continue to waste money on old school marketing tools that are no longer effective. And one of the reasons is it's sometimes hard to get the old white guy out on the road with some salespeople, making sales calls and face-to-face meeting with actual customers, and kind of understanding more about what's changed in their lives. So that results in many times at their worst, websites that are nothing more than an online catalog. And it's literally like you take a printed catalog and it just happens to be available online. And then once it's completed, the attitude of the old white guy is, well, we got our website done, we can check that off. We don't have to reinvest in it, or we don't have to change it for several years, hopefully. So in almost every category of building materials, whether it's plumbing or roofing or windows or whatever, you will find companies that operate this way. If this is you, you need to fix it. And whether it is you or not, look at your competitor sites and you can see, you can see competitors who have a weaker site than you and make your site even better. As more of your customers move online for more of their needs and less frequent sales calls, perhaps not attending trade shows, the company with the best website is going to outperform their competitors. The old white guy is the guy who also won't give you the budget frequently to improve your website, as he sees it as an additional cost. Most of the time, the money you need is already there, but he's being spent on old school tools. I try to convince that CEO to look at his website as an additional salesperson. and also that he's already spending money on doing things like printing catalogs or printing anything, that he should be redirecting that money online. The second thing that I've noticed is how your customers are not only going online during the workday and on job sites, they're also going online for business after hours. In the last year, as I've gone around the United States and Canada calling on customers, riding along with salespeople with my clients, or calling on my clients' customers, I've met with architects, builders, contractors, and dealers who all say to me, you know, I work all day. I don't have time to get all the things done during the day I need to. At the end of the day, I go home, perhaps hopefully have dinner with the family. We put the kids to bed, and I want to, you know, I literally, I had 2 different contractors say the words to me, I want to get in my underwear in my lazy boy and go back to work online. And how, for the most part, it's very frustrating that they cannot get the information they need from the manufacturer's websites, that they have to wait till the next morning to find out, if I want to make this window 2 inches bigger, can you do that? What will that do to production or cost or whatever their question is? And the one that, so they don't understand why a building materials website cannot navigate, have the content, and operate as easy as Amazon.com. They don't understand why they can go on to a car manufacturer's website and pick a car and pick the options and read reviews and pick the colors and the wheels and the tires and whatever else they want, and also calculate the costs. And I know many times a building material manufacturer cannot provide costing because they sell through the channel, but you should be able to provide just about everything else. In the window category, I've consistently heard, particularly from window dealers and builders, that Marvin, hands down, has the best website. So whether or not you're in the window category, I would study what Marvin is doing and maybe hold that up as a benchmark. So, because whatever they're doing, Marvin's doing, their customers really love them, and a big part of that is the superiority of their website. So I would encourage you to hold that up as a benchmark that maybe to be your goal to get to. Another point that I want to share with you is how I see building material companies make assumptions about how to present their information to their customers. So they will go ahead and decide, they'll design the sitemap or the flow of the website based on what they think the customer wants. They will put the content in the website based the way they think the customer wants it, which is me, you know, the manufacturer talking to the contractor, for example. And so one of the things I always do when I'm out calling on my clients' customers is to sit with the customer on the job site in their place of business and say, you know, for a few minutes, I'd like to go online with you and like you to go to my client's website. And I'd like you to show me how this works for you. You know, what is a typical use of the website? And is that information there? Okay. Does it take you naturally, or do you get lost in the website? And then I take them through maybe 2 main competitors and see if I can find where they're perhaps meeting the customers' needs better, and then share that information. So I would encourage you to also spend time, have somebody out on the road spending time with customers, not showing them, here's our cool new website, let me show you how it works. Find out, can they figure out how it works by themselves? Because we've all been to websites, you know, perhaps an airline where you're trying to book something and it just doesn't make sense to you, even though it makes perfect sense to them, and you get frustrated and you leave. Well, you don't want that happening. You don't want that happening to you. This is just another idea that has come to me in the last couple of years when I've been out talking to people like lumber dealers or contractors or there's on the top right is an independent home improvement contractor, and the lower left is a roofing contractor. Lower right is a kitchen and bath dealer. In talking to all these people, almost all of them say, Mark, my website sucks. I had my brother-in-law do it, and I know it's a terrible website, but I got a website. I sure wish I knew how to do a better website, and I don't even know who to call. And when I call a web development firm in, they show me pretty websites, and they can make it. I have to spend a bunch of money. I'm not comfortable that I'm going to end up actually with a good website for my business. So I could really use help here. And one of the things that I always look at with a building material company, building material manufacturer particularly, is what are the assets that you already have that you're not using? And one of the assets I think that most building material manufacturers have is more knowledge about how to do things online, how to make a better website than many of their customers do. Now, certainly if you sell to Lowe's or Home Depot, they don't have that problem. If you sell to D.R. Horton, they don't have that problem. But, if you sell to a roofing contractor, an independent lumber dealer, people like that, many of them I find they really could use help with their website. And one of the things I've started to recommend to my clients, and you could use too, is to learn, for example, if you're in the roofing business, what would make a good roofing contractor website, and share that information with your roofing contractor customers. That perhaps it's a template and so forth that they then can be more comfortable taking to their local web developer to produce the website for them. But that is another thing where if you would be able to do that, number one is you're helping your customers sell more of your products. And number two is I find they're going to be very loyal to you because they're going to remember you were the company that stepped in to help them with an area that they really needed. Now, I want to just jump ahead here real quick because my slides are just a little bit out of order. But one of the things I also find is make sure you understand who the audience is of your website, and make sure you're addressing each of them, that you're not compromising the message. So ideally, if you sell to architects and builders, there's a button there for each one of those that will take them to a site that talks in their language. So one of the ways I do that is, for example, take this infographic that I developed a couple years ago, in which make sure if this is a commercial building material, who are all the customers that I have to reach? I want to make sure, am I addressing online the needs of each one of these people? Now, maybe some of them can be grouped together, but you want to make sure you haven't missed somebody and you're speaking in their language. If you're looking at residential, here's a map of how, map out your own way that you go to residential market, but don't forget anybody. And even when you say we sell to home builders, you may want to think about, for example, within a home builder, there's 3 different, to me, ways to sell a home builder. There's construction management, there's purchasing, and there's sales and marketing. And if you are a product that isn't on the purchasing manager's list of things to buy, but you think the builder would benefit from your product, it may be that construction management is who you want to call on if you can help them construct the home faster, more efficiently, with fewer callbacks. If you have a product, we'll say that's an upgrade or an aesthetic product that is going to make the home more marketable or help the builder differentiate, then you're going to want to talk to the sales and marketing department. So you want to also realize those nuances as you're thinking about your website. Are you talking to the right audience? If your website builder section is aimed at the purchasing person with just straightforward information, and they are not looking for an upgraded garbage disposer, that it's going to fall on deaf ears. So you also want to think about the nuances of the audiences. Another thing you want to make sure you keep in mind as you're talking to people is what is the primary motivation of them every day when in their business. And this is just a graphic that I developed with a man named David Leslie, which was designed really to show you who has the power when making decisions and who has the knowledge. But I think the important thing here is to go down to the bottom and look and say, you know, what did we believe is the primary motivation of each of these customers? And that you should think through each of your customers and make sure that your content is addressing that. So if it's the building owner, the facilities manager, well, they want performance. They want the building to perform the way they expect it. If it's the architect, he's concerned about his reputation, for example. And his reputation can be, it certainly is, oh, look at this beautiful award-winning building that we designed. But maybe even more so is I want to make sure that I build a building that doesn't get a reputation for leaking or being an eyesore or something that doesn't work. You know, they're more afraid of that probably than the upside of designing an award-winning building. And you can go on down the line, like the general contractor's concerned about the time value of money, so forth. But that's another thing just to keep in mind. Okay. And so I already shared that with you. So excuse me while I back up real quick here. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Zach, and forgive us if this technical switch over here doesn't go quite as smoothly as we would, as we're hoping.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Great.
All right. Well, hey, thanks again for having me. I'm going to jump right in. I think you brought up some excellent points around research and what's needed to have a truly effective and, as we have here, ideal building materials company website. So let's just jump right in. So here's the top 3 things we're going to learn today in our webinar. But we want to first go over the 3 biggest mistakes that most building material websites make.
Zach, I'm not seeing your, pardon me, Zach, I'm not seeing your slides.
Okay, let me see. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen. One sec. All right. Let me know if you can see it now.
Still not yet.
Let's see.
There, it's coming.
Oh, it's coming?
Yep. You had something there.
All right.
I'm seeing some of your individual slides, but not a full screen.
Technical difficulty.
Google's not been very cooperative today.
Today, no. Here, let's see if this will work. All right. How about this? Can you see now?
Yes. Well, I did. I did for a minute, and then it went away.
All right. Let's give it this a sec.
I can see it.
Is it working now?
It's there, and then it goes. Oh, I'll shut up. It's me.
All right, so let's jump in. Again, so we're going over the ideal building materials company website. So here's what we're going to learn today, that we're going to learn the 3 biggest mistakes that most building material websites make and how you can fix them yourself. Oftentimes we think, oh man, our website's underperforming, so we need a redesign. And granted, we do redesigns all the time, but there's oftentimes quick fixes you can make that should help your performance. And then we want to talk about how you can make your website the #1 site in your category, even if you're not the leader. And we'll give a few examples of other companies that are doing this well. And then finally, we'll talk about how to grow your traffic and turn more of those traffic or those website visitors into customers. So the other thing we want to talk about is if you stick around until the end, Mark will turn on the Q&A option, and then we'll answer any questions that you might have. We'll also give out a link at the end as well to share a link for a quick website checklist that people can use when creating or improving their site. There's a ton of content to go over, so we don't have everything. So this website checklist has quite a bit in there too. So before we go in, a little bit about me. I'm a husband and a father of 3 kids. I live in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm the founder of Venveo. We're a digital marketing firm for building material companies. Our background is we focus primarily on building material companies, and we build websites and manage the digital marketing for a bunch of different companies in the space. And part of the reason we're talking today is we see some key issues. Oftentimes when we do an audit or we go over a website or trying to help someone, things come up again and again, so we're hoping we can share some information that is helpful to you in your efforts. So let's just get a baseline in place and just lay out the groundwork and say, hey, your website is a reflection of the experience of what it's like working with your company. I think most people would agree with this. And people tend to think, oh, well, my website looks good. That's a reflection on us. But we're not necessarily just talking about aesthetics. We're talking about how easy it is to use. Does it provide information and helpful content? So if we take this thought and we go a little bit further, so if your website experience is difficult, then this will hurt your relationship with your customers. And so this is really what we're trying to accomplish today, is not only deal with these issues that you might have, but also help you figure out, well, what gaps we have in place to improve that experience. So oftentimes when we start working with people, we deal with mentality shift, or we deal with hurdles in reference to how does a company view a website. And most manufacturers, not all, but a lot of manufacturers view their website as a checkbox to complete. Hey, we know we need a website redesign. We go and we finish it. It's done. But instead, most people, our viewpoint here should be that it's a sales and revenue generator. This means we have to put time and effort into this asset in order to get a return from it. It's a living, breathing thing that can bring return, but you're only going to get as much out of it as you put into it. And I like to ask the question, is your website helping you outmarket and outsell your competition? Because it really can. And again, I'll give a few examples here in a minute, but more and more people are starting the research online, regardless if it's a contractor or an architect. And so websites are becoming an even greater competitive positioning point for a lot of manufacturers. So my goal for everyone today is for them to learn how to increase traffic and leads while positioning themselves as the go-to thought leader in their category. So before we talk about that, I want to jump right into the 3 big mistakes that we see. And we'll start with content. We have 3 C's into each one of these, but we'll start with content. And again, there's a bunch of information in here, and I encourage you to download that checklist we'll share at the end of the presentation. But within content, the biggest mistake we see is that you're focusing too much on yourself and not your product. Instead, you should try to solve your audience's problems. And what we mean by this is that oftentimes when we go to a manufacturer, say, well, we're pushing our product, we're not seeing leads, and we're not seeing sales coming from it. And the big problem is that they're only really talking about themselves instead of figuring out, well, what's that big pain point my audience has. Mark mentioned this earlier, that it's really important to talk to your target audience and your customers to see what issues they have before you consider making any of the changes to your site. And the way we think about it is we tend to think about, your audience's problem, and your product is on the other side, and the intersection between those things is your website. So your website should really be helping serve both ends of this spectrum, but at the same time, you really need to put yourself in the shoes of what your audience is dealing with. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but an example of a site, I don't like to call people out, but an example of a site that I think does a pretty poor job at this is Advanced Building Products. You go to their homepage, and right off the bat, this doesn't really help me very much as let's say a builder or a contractor. They're just talking about themselves and not really helping me. I mean, they mentioned they're celebrating 25 years of work, which is great, but what does that matter to me? How are you helping me, the contractor or builder, do my job more effectively? So we'll talk a little bit more about how to solve that problem later, but there's an example there. So again, we talk about content. Now the second mistake that most people deal with is customer acquisition. We all care about leads, and we all want to grow leads from an online presence, but there's some issues that we see here. And the big mistake we tend to see is that we're focusing too much on leads and not enough on building relationships. At a bare minimum, most manufacturers have a contact page or a way to get in touch with a sales team or direct them to some sort of, find a dealer, find a locator or something like that. But they're not really focused on how can you help. How can you build a relationship? What can you do for the longevity of relationship with that contractor or builder? So, for example, James Hardy here, they have really, I'd say, pretty looking website. But if you kind of dig into it, it's kind of basic. We have here, I've highlighted the download a product catalog example, and they have a request a sample and warranty and install info. And if I click on download product catalog, it brings me to a form that's asking me for everything short of my social security number. And I'm like, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, why in the world do you want all of this information if all I'm asking for is a product catalog? I would challenge them to say, well, not only do I want a product catalog, but what about a checklist for, installing siding, or, 10 things you should know about siding before you purchase. Those kinds of things I think are a little bit a step further that we're challenging a lot of manufacturers to think about, because, having a product catalog or request a sample or warranty info is a given, but how are you really helping them solve their deeper rooted issues? So the way to solve this is to provide the most helpful information in your industry. And we talk a little bit about being the thought leader in the space, but we're not just talking about, is your site easy to use and does it, have the content you're looking for, but what other information can you provide your audience that others aren't? And that will really help separate you. A great example of this is Matree. They are a molding company. I think they're based out of Canada. And their blog has some really great content for designers and architects. I think designers are their main primary audience. And I just pulled up a page here. This is a before and after section on their blog. They highlight spaces that don't have their product, and then they get redone and they post them online, and they get to showcase designers in the process. And this is really great, unique content. They're not necessarily just pushing their product really hard. They're helping people think about their space and how they can assist them. So again, customer acquisition, and then the final issue we have here is commitment. Commitment issues, right? It's kind of funny, but it's true. The biggest mistake we see is that a lot of leaders within building materials companies don't understand the power of their website and even their online presence. And oftentimes it's viewed as an expense and not a revenue generator. And that gets back to my original point of how companies view their website. But if you are here and let's say you're in leadership, or even if you don't have total control in your company or power to make decisions, the best way you can solve this problem is to make improvements to the content and customer acquisitions parts of your website to get buy-in from your team. Because really, if you can show results there, then you are going to be able to get buy-in and say, oh my gosh, your team goes, man, there's an opportunity here for us to grow in other ways and obviously provide investment. So let me show you a couple quick manufacturers who are doing this right. Here's Delta. I love their website. It might not be quote unquote as beautiful as, let's say, Kohler, but we have an article on our site on how they're outperforming them from a search engine standpoint. I also think they have some excellent tools on their site too, and I think they just really do things really well when it comes to presenting content and information that's not only useful and helpful, but keeps people coming back for more. We also have Fibron here. This is a website we actually built, and this is really focused on helping educate people on what they need to know about their deck. And so, yes, they're pushing their product, but at the same time, they are helping educate consumers around maintenance and enjoyment around their outdoor living space. And then here's Cambria Quartz. I love this website, and a lot of people will do this too, and you might be on the call and you might see that this is a similar tactic you take, but they split up their site into consumers and professionals, but not just presenting products that relate to those people, but figuring out, okay, well, what's really important to a consumer, what's important to an architect or a remodeler or someone like that who, what information do they need? And the common thing that these sites have are the three threads we've been talking about. They're an ideal website. They bring in traffic. I mentioned that Fibron and Delta, I know at least for a fact, those two are outperforming a couple other people in the space that might be they're not necessarily leaders, but they are larger in the space. And they're also trying to become the go-to thought leader in the space too. So that kind of begs the question of what does traffic, leads, and thought leadership all have in common? And the intersection between all of these things is valuable content. And content is high-arching. It can be blog articles, videos, apps that people use on your site. But really what content is aimed at how you can help your audience in ways that other people aren't. So diving into this, I have here 6 steps to create content that drives traffic and leads. And again, we'll drive traffic and leads, and then once you can do that, then getting buy-in from the other people on your team and really gaining commitment for your website becomes a lot easier. So let's go into each of these here. So step 1, as Mark mentioned, I love his point, and this is something we always do, is we want to spend time with customers and talk with them to understand what their life is like. I think a lot of people make too many assumptions around websites, and I mean, it's really easy to do this even with analytics and things like that in place. but there's no substitute for talking to a customer or a potential customer and say, hey, what do you like about our current site? What do you like about other competitor sites? And Mark mentioned, ask them to view other websites even outside your industry. That can be tremendously helpful in finding out how to structure and build and create content. The second step is after you talk with them, write down the top 5 problems your customers have. You can write down more, but a good starting point is just what are the top 5 problems they have. And this does not necessarily need to relate to your product. It can be if they're a carpenter, they're like, man, I don't know how to be profitable, or I don't know how to do a balance sheet, or I don't know how to do lower costs without at the same time maybe increasing revenue. Simple things like that are big problems to them. It might not seem important to you, but it can help you position yourself alongside them instead of across the table. So a quick example of this is I mentioned predicting lead times of products is really difficult. That might be a problem that somebody has. So then from there, step 3 is you want to write down the answers, solutions, or strategies to solve the problems we listed. Excuse me. So for example, architects can predict lead times more accurately if they reach out to general contractors sooner. Like that could be a really great blog article or content piece that you create that you could then put in front of your audience. So from here, step 4 is you want to turn those answers into website content. It seems so simple, but rarely do people actually take this approach. They're so focused on how can I push my product instead of really figuring out why is someone at your site and what are their real issues. So a quick example, I got a couple quick examples here, but maybe you have 3 tips to help decrease lead times to keep your project on track. Mark mentioned earlier Marvin Windows and Doors. They have a great article about the top 10 cities for general contractors, which is interesting. I'm sure a lot of general contractors want to know that because maybe they want to expand or see what the market is like. Infographics are also really great. So roles and needs for everyone on the commercial job site. And videos, I think it's where the space in the industry as a whole is going, because more and more people don't want to necessarily read content, but they'll watch content. So how to talk to a general contractor about lead times, for example. So there's any number of different types of content out there, but the key is, producing content that helps your audience in a way that, no one else is. So step 5 is then to post it on your site, email it to your list, and share it on social media. I mean, there's any number of ways to get traffic around it, but simply by posting on your site, it's going to help bring traffic, and then directing people to it on a regular basis is going to be key. Then step 5, and this is where step 6, this is where most people miss out, is direct your website visitors to the next step or resource that will help them. We did a survey, last year, and asked the industry, hey, what's your biggest goal for the year? And majority of building materials companies said, hey, well, we want to drive more sales and leads. And they said, well, how are you measuring that? And they said, website traffic. And I just thought that was kind of funny because those two things don't really align. So, getting people to your site is one thing, but you want to direct them once they get to your site to the next step or next resource. When people view a website, they're not necessarily thinking about what they want to do next. Oftentimes we have to tell them, so if they're on a page or a blog article reading about, how to work with general contractors, maybe you have a video series that you can direct them to in the middle of the article about working with general contractors that's further in depth. And that's when you can start introducing more advanced, marketing, online marketing concepts like, lead generation and marketing automation and form submissions and things like that. So let me give you a quick recap again. So the ideal website is content focused on your audience's problems and not yours. You're going to regularly create content and find ways to help your audience. So regular is important. Sometimes we'll find some great content from a manufacturer, but they aren't consistent in creating it, or maybe they post content for their target audience once and then they push their product a little bit too much. I think consistency is the most important thing here. And then finally, driving traffic to this content and then creating ways to capture leads from it. So not only do you get them to the table, but how do you get them to convert or become a lead after they've viewed that piece of content? So what you need to do now. First steps first, you want to talk with your customers about their problems. So again, as Mark mentioned, find out from them what's important to them. Then review your current content to see what gaps exist and helping your customers. Just don't take what you have, on your plate and say, well, let's add to it. A lot of people are viewing your existing content. So how could you shift it or alter it or pivot to help your customers? And then create content aimed at solving their problems, and finally give reasons to your visitors to click for more resources that are going to help them. So that might seem like a really simple process, but oftentimes this is the process we take to help our clients figure out how can they drive traffic and leads. There's a bunch of other things you can do. You can go download this checklist here that kind of dives a little bit deeper into this. So if you go and fill this out, we'll send you the checklist as well. But that's kind of in a nutshell. And I'll hand it back over to Mark here for some Q&A. And I think he has a couple other points he wants to take over. Right, Mark?
Yes. There I am. Let me put my screen back up here. Start. Get back to where it would be. So anyway, thank you, Zach, for sharing that. Now, I hope that from there, my goal and Zach's goal is to provide simple, actionable, non-theoretical steps for either one to think about, number two, to go in and start to put in place literally today. For example, Zach mentioned the importance of content. One of the simple things that I've recommended to companies to do is they may have a nice website and you can get through to the product and there's a picture of the product and they go right into a description of the product. And by simply adding a paragraph or two before they get into selling me the product, that they remind me, take me back, why are you even looking at this product? If you're looking at fiber cement siding, well, here are the reasons why, what's the job an exterior cladding does, what are your options, and why is fiber cement probably your best choice? Go back to the beginning and provide good, helpful, educational content or advice on how to select. Many building material manufacturers make the assumption that their customer is more educated than they are. So I always tell people to speak to the least informed person in the audience. So like when I'm helping people, coaching them on architectural sales calls or something, I find frequently are talking to the senior architect with the gray hair who already knows a lot of things. And I keep telling them, don't forget about the 24-year-old over there in the corner that just started at the firm. Okay, your message shouldn't talk over to that person. So your website should also speak to the least educated person. Don't overassume what the person knows, because you got to keep in mind those educated people, one, they are retiring, and number two, the new people are being given more and more responsibility every day to make decisions, make choices about particularly your product. And then, as we all know, the younger somebody is, even more online they live. And so that's another reason why your website needs to talk to those people. I don't know, Zach, if anybody has any questions, there should be a panel you should see where you could type questions in. I don't know, Zach, if you can see that.
Yeah, so Mark, have you activated the Q&A there on the left side?
I did. I will.
Let's see.
I already did. I don't know if everybody can or can't see it. I activated it. So maybe one of those, you'll have to forgive us here again with our technical difficulties we're having here today. With the site. So if the Q&A is not working, I encourage you just to send me an email, and I will make sure that Zach and I get you the answers to that. And once again, our purpose isn't to say aren't Zach and Mark geniuses and we're smarter than, your suppliers. First of all, is to help you do a better job. And if you're happy with your agency, then great. Keep working with them. And hopefully this has given you and the agency some ideas of how to do a better site and get better results. I just want to remind you about next month, the Rainmaker webinar that we're going to be putting on February 10th that you will be getting an email about. And also my event in Boulder, the Building Material Sales and Marketing Summit and how to grow your sales faster. Remind you to think about coming to that. Zach and I are also going to be sending you a survey where hopefully, of course, you're going to give us some bad grades, which you should, on our technical abilities. But hopefully you can tell us if we provided some helpful information. And then I'd also like your request for what would be future subjects that you would like to see covered. So Zach, unless you have anything else, I think we're good.
No, that's great. Thanks again, Mark. This has been excellent.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we'll be sending out a link to a YouTube for this.